Welcome to your new edition of the Huddle House. I'm Matt, that's Ty, and joining us this week is the one and only Chris Trakener, person of interest this week after a lot of major moves shaking up his future. So we're gonna dive into that this week on the show, find out kind of his train of thought, and just have some good discussion about trades this week. So how you guys doing?
Doing well, man. Excited for this episode. I've been looking forward to this one all day as soon as I heard we got Chris. So, um, looking forward to just to shooting it a little bit and hearing what he has to say. And I think people will like this one. I really do. How about you, Chris? How you holding up, bro?
Good, good. Left work a little early to, be a part of this. So nothing wrong with being home early.
Sacrificing for us. That's nice. I feel so honored.
Appreciate it. So let's just get straight into it, man. I guess we can talk about these trades in the order they happen. Obviously, you and I had the one we completed today, but let's go back to last week, or maybe it was earlier this week. Whenever you moved DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, I think that was Friday.
It was Thursday. It was Thursday. Yes, I was at a public function when it happened, and I definitely thought that I was gonna have like the talk of the night. And you just freaking one-upped me like an hour later. I was like, bro.
That's right. There were a couple blockbusters that night. Matt's trade. We'll come back to Matt's trade, but
Yeah.
while we got you here, Chris, just talk us through who initiated that conversation and how did it kind of come together? This trade that you did with James for D Hop.
All right, so when he had traded for James Robinson, I was like, come on, man, you really don't need him, because I was trying to get Gaskin from him, because last year Gaskin single-handedly got me into the championship game in a different league. When he got in the crazy play against the Raiders. So I kind of, championship winners have a special place in my heart, and he didn't want to give him up for anything. And I didn't want to, give him anything too much for Gaskin, because he's like an RB2 at most. So when he traded for Robinson, I was like, hey, what do you think about this? Doing a couple of trades with Julio, and he was not interested in Julio at all, which has kind of been a wash. So I don't blame him. And so I was like, never mind, forget about it. So when I reached back out to him after, obviously, Robinson's been balling, he's like, nah, Robinson's off the table. So here are the people that I have. And, it's kind of tough to sacrifice D-Hop. And, I know it drew a lot of attention, but I really needed someone that was going to give me a solid, 8 to 13 points a game versus Sony Michel. He's not going to get any touches. And I thought Rojo was going to be great this year, but Leonard Fournette is definitely taking over the RB1 role. It's nothing like last year in Tampa. So I sacrificed, D-Hop, unfortunately, for pretty much James Conner and a first, because Devontae Parker was just kind of thrown in as let's make this trade look a little bit better type of deal. Because I knew he's going to get banged up, and I don't even think he's the wide receiver one there after seeing what Waddle did Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a question. So obviously, one thing I do respect about you is you make your own decisions, and even if it gets roasted in the chat, you just stand by your decision. You don't start apologizing. You stuck with it. Obviously, D-Hop had a really good week on Sunday. Do you watch him go off and sort of already feel that nerve of did I screw up, or are you still kind of standing strong with what you did?
So, my thought going into the trade was, Carolina, obviously undefeated, great team this year. Mm-hmm. A lot to do with their wide receiver core. I was like, he's got a lot of, weapons that he's got to battle with AJ Green, and Christian Kirk seems to have a spark with Murray. So, I didn't think that he would have a great game like that on Sunday, but he was one crazy touchdown catch away the week before from being 3 games under 10 points. And I'm like, got this dude in the second round, he's not even doing nothing. So I was like, James Conner's been kind of a touchdown magnet the past few weeks, and he had some chances, and unfortunately Murray fumbled the ball, so they had to throw the touchdown pass, which I think ultimately led to D-Hop's big week. But no, especially with adding Ertz, I think he'll be kind of he'll still, do 9 to 10 points, but I don't think he'll be as great as he was last year, the year before. I think it'll kind of just be like everyone across Arizona. Like one guy's gonna have a breakout week, and then the other guys are kind of gonna be mediocre.
Yeah, we also have seen a lot out of Rondale Moore as well. So there is a lot of competition, but there's a lot of that's a great offense. It's kind of like with the Bucks situation with Godwin, Mike Evans, Brown. Like, there's a lot to go around. Like Gronk's still getting touchdowns. So sometimes when it's those great offenses, like there's a lot of mouths to feed, but Kyler's capable of giving a lot of guys attention. So we'll see how it works. But Ty, what you thinking?
I thought you did it just to screw me over and have me face the back-to-back weeks, lose to him back-to-back weeks.
No,
That was the
no,
toughest for me.
no. I know. I like in the grand scheme of things. If you look at it on paper, I lost the trade, hands down, lost the trade. But I really wanted Connor. I really wanted Robinson, but to get him, it was going to take too much, and it would have been even more kind of a lopsided look. So Connor's what I settled with.
Mm-hmm. So you wake up. Oh, sorry. What were you saying, Ty?
I was just going to ask because the chat did kind of explode when this happened. I just want to know, like, being in your shoes, what's it feel like whenever everyone's like at you like that?
I texted James. Well, a few people texted me separately. Marcus texted me. I think Lucas texted me and was like, "What the fuck was that?" So, I was like, man, I texted James. I was like, I might as well have killed someone's firstborn child with the way these people are treating me right now. And Mitri coming at me. I don't know Mitri, and I didn't know he was a Raiders fan. So I was like, dude, I tried to get Jacobs like 4 weeks in a row, and I would send him trades like to get his attention because he would never accept my message request. And I'm like, okay, and he would just decline because they were stupid trades. I was like, sending him Rager, Sony Michel, and a first for Jacobs, but I was like, hey. Like, I just want your attention because I didn't want to send him something too great and he accept it.
Yeah.
But he never even looked at it. So I was like, whatever. So I moved on and tried to get somebody else.
You can always feel free to hit one of us up and we'll like, since we know Mitri, like we can like sort of like nudge him and be like, hey, Traigner's trying to get your attention. Sometimes I feel like I have to do that with the Florida boys sometimes because a couple of them I don't know, and like I'll send a message and it just goes into oblivion and I'm like,
yeah, that's like trying to trade with Austin. He never looks at it.
Yeah, same with me. And so it is tough sometimes whenever you're trying to pick at someone, trying to see what their brain's looking like, and they won't even give you an answer, and you're just like, they might actually like this if they actually saw the trade. Like,
well, maybe some people are just set with their team and confident with it and don't want to trade too. I mean, we can't rule that out. I know
that's true.
Yeah, it's true. And like for me, I'm a big Patriots fan, so if I have a Patriots player that's balling, like James White was doing okay, like I probably would hold him a higher value than he actually is just because. So I don't blame him.
Yeah, a little bit of bias. Like people have picked at me recently about Rashad Bateman, and I'm just kind of like, well, I don't really give him up right now. I like watching him anyway, just because Lamar's throwing on the ball. So like now that I'm gonna see what he is first before giving up Bateman, unless you're offering me like Jamar Chase or something. But if it's some crazy trade, then here he is. But in general, I understand that kind of that team bias sometimes. But all right, so let's move on to your trade with Ty today. We're gonna jump into another trade. So my question is, like Russ and Rodgers are both amazing quarterbacks. Clearly, you value Russ a little bit more. Like, what kind of pushes you over the edge to sort of like, I guess, take Russ over Rodgers and then throw in the first with it? Like, what is it about Russ? Is it just age, or is there other things about him that you kind of prefer? What was your thinking there?
I honestly didn't even think he was available because obviously Russ, I think, is an elite quarterback. He's like top tier, like quarterback wise. Obviously, it's like Pat Mahomes, and then you have like Russ, Deshaun Watson, and then and like Josh Allen is now in that elite category. And I was like, man, like I really want Russ for a few things. Like the age definitely plays a factor, the uncertainty of Rodgers' future with the Packers. Mm-hmm. So sending the first was more of this guy over here is pushed for it, and he just kept pushing and pushing.
Yeah,
I did not want to send the first.
I know he wanted your first from this year. He was telling me like, I'm gonna see if he's willing to give up the first this year, and then Ty texted me and was like, yeah, he ain't budging on that. So I was like,
no way.
I tried hard. He was persistent on it, but I mean, my thinking was really looking at my team, the past 2 weeks, I had 9-point performances from my quarterback, and if I have just like 15 each week, like I win both those games, and my record looks way different. I'm 5-3 instead of 3. Yeah, 5.
You'd be 5-1.
5-1.
Yeah, 5-1.
What I'm talking about. 5-1 instead of 3-3, and so I feel like coming up these, and the thing is with Russ, he's out the next 2 weeks on the IR, and then they have a bye, so it's really 3 weeks compounded on top of that. And I kept looking around at different quarterbacks. I was actually gonna do a trade with Lucas for Teddy Bridgewater before, like, had the same exact offer out there before, like, Nat came and sniped it, like pulled the rug right out from underneath me. Like had the offer, was about to accept it, and then like it got completed with somebody else. So I was gonna do that, and then I was looking around at some other backup options, and really just everything didn't feel like it was worth giving up anything substantial for, because it'd be a lateral move from Carson Wentz. Like, I don't think it'd have been a huge difference to get some of these other people I was looking at. So I was like, if I'm going to do something, I want it to at least be an upgrade for these next 3 weeks, because I'm 3-3 now. I think I need to go for it and try and win these next few games, because I don't think I could afford to mess around and risk not doing that because if I go to 3-6, like the season looks all way different than if I'm 6-3, and I don't know if I could get there without competent quarterback play, because the rest of my team's done really well. So that was really my driving force behind it. And I think with Rodgers, I feel confident that he'll play somewhere else next year, and I still think wherever he goes, he's going to be really good. So even though there's a little uncertainty there that I am kind of worried about, I think I at least got the rest of this year, and I got, next year, and then I can figure something out after that if need be. But the way I looked at it for this season, I think there's no doubt in my mind that Aaron Rodgers is going to have a better rest of the year than Russell Wilson, even if that's just because Russ is missing these next 3 weeks. Like that was kind of worth it to me, because I think my team's a playoff team and I want to be in that position. So that was kind of why I was doing it, and then really just wanted to get some more draft capital to kind of just give me a little bit more for the future if I wanted to trade for any kind of asset, and just kind of cover my backside a little bit there. So that's where I was. And whenever I saw you put Rodgers on the trade block was really whenever I thought it could be a possibility. So that's where I came from with it. And
Yeah, he put Rodgers on the trade block, Ty, like minutes after me and Chris couldn't come to terms for Rodgers. Then he puts him on the trade block, and I'm like, dude, this dude wouldn't budge for anything. And then like 5 minutes later, he's just like, here, group, try to trade for Rodgers. And I'm like, come on, man. Like,
what were you offering?
Oh
Nothing.
gosh, you know how I am. I offer like 45 things a day, so I honestly, like, my brain starts to get fuzzled. But I know, like, Michael Thomas was in the deal, my 2023 first,
Baker.
something else. I don't know, maybe like LaVisca. I don't know, like 3 or 4 things, but it was kind of one of those depth for star type trades. And I figured the thing was holding him back because he kind of just did a depth for star type trade, and I was like, this dude doesn't just want to be rolling with like 20 startable players, but no like crazy studs. So like, I kind of understood it, but like, you had to freaking put him on the trade block like 5 minutes later just to basically spit in my face, and I was like, dang, man, ruthless.
He did that with the 2022 first too, because it's like wouldn't give it up for anything, and then like it pops up on the trade block. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was definitely more difficult to do the trade with you, Barnes, because God, I couldn't imagine doing 2 trades like that in the same week. Like, I get booted from the league.
Yeah, that is true. There would have been a little bit of an uproar, like, but still, like, I was just like, man, I needed a quarterback. I mean, I'm happy enough with Teddy for the time being, but man, I have a lot of eggs in Justin Fields' basket, and I need that guy to step it up, start doing.
Wentz is available.
I don't want Wentz.
So is what's his name? Winston.
I'd rather have Teddy. I tried trading for Jameis. You said no.
Oh yeah, you did.
Baker, something small. Like, I mean, I thought they were close enough in values, but maybe not, since Baker seems to be throwing with one shoulder right now. But yeah, trading's fun. Like, I think what makes Dynasty so great, and what I think makes everyone kind of dial in a little bit more, is that, you're trading, not just thinking about like the short term, but for your total future. So it makes it more stressful, and like I get more anxiety before I click accept. But I do
For
think it's
sure.
fun whenever it goes through and you're like, this is what my team looks like now. So it's kind of fun. So kind of going back to that, Chris, like waking up in the morning, like and looking at your roster, sort of like where do you view it right now? Like, are you super happy with where you're at, or are you sort of skeptical? Like, how are you feeling about your team?
It's got a few good pieces. Obviously Derrick Henry being the man that he is the past few weeks definitely has proven worth. Um, Jake, he's not available. But Pitts against the Jets, he looked good. Again, he was like the only person he could throw to, but he showed some promise instead of just throwing up like 4 or 5 points. Other than that, I mean, with Russ coming back, hopefully he comes back strong. But I think I'm more going to next year trying to be competitive, and this year kind of just breaking some hearts, maybe getting a win here or there to try to keep people out of the playoffs.
Mhm.
But
Just
other than
not
that, I don't
against
see much.
me.
No,
But
your team balled this week. I told you that was a great win for you. I'm glad that your team all came together like that.
yeah, I think it deserved to be mentioned. I know this is the trade talk episode, but I am finally a winner for the first time
I
in
forgot.
this
Yeah,
entire season.
man, so much has happened this past week in between this episode and the last with all the trades. I totally forgot about that too. Yeah, we should have had like some kind of little party favors or something to.
I know. Is there any way you can get like I don't know, like
Streamers.
they had emoji or something like that, like a sticker, for the Zoom call to kind of like throw on my head as like celebratory. I mean, not only did I win, I was first in the league in scoring, so
Yeah.
I really got it together this week. So it was just such a relief to finally go into like prime time Sunday night, Monday night football, just like not having anything to worry about, just being like I'm good to go. I can just
Well,
watch these games.
one other thing to mention, Matt. Just I mean, how does it feel like being? I know you had a great week this week, but grand scheme of things, you're still 1-5, and you don't have like any draft picks going into this off season.
Yeah, no.
So I mean, how does that make you feel? Like you're very invested in the team you have now, and you don't have any picks. I mean, what's your thoughts on that matter? Because you dealt it away for Steph Diggs.
Yeah, so I would feel a lot worse about it if my team was like crazy old and like I'm losing a year, like. But I think a lot of my guys, like the Batemans of the world, the Chenaults, the Waddles, like I mean, they're either rookies or sophomores, and like, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd love to have a pick. Like, I might consider in the future trying to get back into this draft because I do want to have some role in this rookie draft, so I might try to get back in it. I would definitely prefer to have a pick, but I think my team is still young enough and still like promising enough with some of my core pieces that like I don't really need this rookie draft that bad. I know I've been losing, but I've also had a lot of bad breaks. Like I've had, obviously I had the Dak trade. I might have won a few weeks with Dak. I had 2 weeks where Taylor and Mixon just did not remotely show up, which every other week they have. So it's just been kind of like they both had their bad weeks this season the same weeks. So those weeks were obviously losses. For a while before the Diggs trade, I was starting two rookie wide wide receivers and a sophomore. So just like really young receiver, which makes them inconsistent. I had Kittle go down. So also the Rams defense is really good, but I couldn't start them 3 straight weeks because they had like crazy hard opponents. Now their next 4 games are like all cakewalks. So like I just had a lot of bad breaks at the beginning of the season, and that's really unfortunate, but I still feel really good about where my team's at. And I feel like next year, even with the same roster, like you get a Waddle with one more year, maybe Deshaun Watson throwing on the ball. He's way more intriguing. Lawrence develops. Maybe Chenault gets better. Diggs is still a stud for years to come. Kittle might finally be healthy. Justin Fields might finally blossom and be the guy he's supposed to be. And Taylor and Mixon aren't going anywhere either. So, I mean, I don't really think I need a pick this year that bad because I think my record is mostly just due to misfortune and just tough breaks.
I just want to go back to one thing you said about Deshaun Watson helping Waddle. I think it might not be the case. I think he helps Devontae Parker and like those boundary guys a lot more. I think what's made Waddle so good this year is they're throwing him like his average depth of target's like 7 yards. It's just Tua checking down to him every time.
Yeah, but
He's
like I understand that, and it gives him a better floor with Tua. But Waddle's average like reception in Alabama was over 40 yards. Like his primary specialty is a deep threat. And because of the fact that Tua is like a dink and dunk guy who they apparently don't trust to throw downfield, you're never going to get a 40-yard touchdown with Waddle. It's always just going to be like 7-yard catches. And if he gets 8 catches for 7 yards, he's going to have like an 8.9-point week. That's like okay, but he doesn't have upside unless he's getting touchdowns to like be the dude. Like, I understand that Deshaun will spread it out, but I also feel like with Deshaun, they have more gunslinging ability to put up a lot more points and catch the meatballs.
Yeah, it was just a thought. I feel weird about Tua. Like, I don't think he ever really got a fair shot in Miami. And now he's like on the outs, it seems like. I mean, he really didn't have that much chance for success. I mean, he came in and like started a little bit, but they'd pull him all the time for fits. And then this year he got hurt, and now it's just like it never even happened if he's going to be gone. It's weird.
Yeah. I still feel like Tua has potential. And like if this trade is all fake and there's just rumors or whatever, and it's not actually going to happen, like I'm still happy with Waddle even with Tua. Like it's not like I'm downer on the guy. Like I do think Tua is going to throw to him like 15 times a game, which is really nice. But I don't know. I just feel like things open up a little bit more with Deshaun Watson, and I will definitely take that upside of having massive ceiling weeks.
Well, we'll see.
Also, and to even add to that, I haven't even had Michael Thomas either. So my team is
He
working.
ain't playing this year.
What?
He ain't playing this year unless he gets traded.
And that's very possible, to be honest. I don't know. He's a total mess, but hopefully he can realize he wants to play football. Based on his Twitter, he makes it seem like it, but I don't know if the dude's all there sometimes.
Yeah, he's a very much a diva. Maybe.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
And he's completely unloadable right now. Like, gosh dang, the amount of people I've talked to about Michael Thomas, the amount of people have just been like, nah. So I'm just riding it out with him, hoping he gets back to a shell of what he was. Like I said, it could even be a shell of it, and he's still a decent enough wide receiver too. And I can live with that.
Yeah, if he plays, then he's always going to get touches and yards.
But yeah, because who else has Jameis had to throw the ball to? Like,
Kamara.
Callaway, I guess. I mean, Deontay Harris.
Yeah, because he doesn't even really throw to Kamara.
No,
Yeah, he really doesn't. Not as much as he should.
That's the thing that could make Michael Thomas like suffer a little bit when he does come back is like Jameis only knows one depth of target, and that's just deep, like just chucking that thing. Like, I don't feel like he's hitting the short slants and curls like what Breeze would do. And I think
that's where he throws all of his picks.
I mean, yeah, it's what makes him great and also terrible when he's up and down.
Yeah.
But you never know what the Saints are going to do, man. Jameis, I don't think Jameis is their quarterback of the future. This seems like a trial thing, and they might. I don't know. They're kind of in a tough spot. They're kind of at a crossroads to figure out what to do. But transitioning off that, so Chris, I know you have here a few weeks without Wilson, and you have Jamison there as your starter now. Is that your plan, you think, to ride him instead of Carson?
No, I have no idea, honestly. I kind of just put him in there because for me, Carson, like, they're kind of both one and the same. Like 1 week they go 3 touchdowns, 300 yards, and look great. The next week they're going to go 150 yards and 3 interceptions the other way.
Yeah.
Like I have 2 of the most inconsistent quarterbacks, I think, fantasy-wise and play-wise, to substitute in and out while I'm waiting on Russ to get back. But I'm just going to have to gamble and hope that I pick the better of the 2 matchups. And I think one of them plays Washington, which, again, like they look great the first half against Kansas City, forced 3 turnovers, and in the second half they let this dude do whatever he wants.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think one of the things that was a tough realization for me about Wentz is I thought, like, maybe I can just start him. And then I was watching that Baltimore game whenever the Colts played Baltimore, and I was watching, I was like, Carson is lighting it up. Like, he could not play a better game than this. And I checked fantasy, and he only had like 21 points. I was like, I felt like he could not play better than that. It only translated 21 fantasy points. So, I mean, that was just kind of like that's the kind of guy he is. Like, he just isn't the same as he was that one year when he was going to be the MVP, and I don't think he ever will be for whatever reason, whether he's rolling both his ankles on the same play, like he or whatever it is. But I mean, as a fill-in guy, like I was weighing it. I mean, I just wanted to try and remove any shadow of a doubt that I wouldn't have a good quarterback week by getting a guy that was going to be more consistent. So That's just where I was at. But
Yeah. I know it took over 24 hours to get the deal done, but
I know, man. Because we deliberated all night last night, and then it just felt. It's kind of like you get your mind set on something, and then like it's hard to just turn it off of it, man. Like I don't know, I'm not the best at doing that. So I wanted to come back to it this morning because it was still on my mind, and fortunately we were able to tweak it and make it work.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you guys figured something out. This week has been absolutely chaos for me. Like, I think in a good way. Like, I think I made the better decisions, but you can't tell. Can't tell after a couple days. But oh my gosh, the amount of like blockbuster stuff that has been sent to me and things like that. I've just had so many dilemmas, and so we'll see. But I feel like I'm involved in some sort of trade talk just about every day. So,
Yeah.
kind of like the I don't know who's someone in the league that never trades, like Austin, Jeremy. I'm like the absolute antithesis of them. Like I'm trading like 24/7. I think I'm bordering on like 8 or 9 trades this season. So
Yeah.
Whenever a trade completes, it's usually you or James as one of the other parties.
yeah.
And I feel like James has been quieter than usual this year. I mean, I feel like Matt's made more moves than James has.
Oh,
James texts me every day for a player. Every day. What do you think of this? I'm like, dude, let me roll on my team for 1 week. I don't even know how they're gonna play.
It's a beautiful thing about James, just like him being
Always looking.
and yeah, he's always on it, man. Like I got the news whenever I heard the news that the Browns announced the one Dearness Johnson is the starter over Demetric Felton, and like Marcus had picked up Demetric. He was like, "Oh, I picked up Demetric over Dearness. Like I really thought he was going to be the starter." So I'm like rushing to the waivers to be like, "Oh, well, I'll put in a claim for this guy. He's already on James's team." I'm like, "When the heck did James pick him up? Like what?" I
Yeah,
mean,
he's got the insider, man. I don't know who's telling him, but I go to pick up all these people that are covering for injured guys, and I'm like, oh, 1 week fixes, and then boom. I'm like, God damn it, James.
if you beat James to it, like you did something. I mean, if
The
you beat
man frustrates me because like this is the week to beat him. Like he has like every single buy in the world. I mean, granted, I have a few big ones too, but yet I still see his lineup and he's able to land the Ernest Johnson. Devontae Booker just sort of falls into his lap because Saquon gets hurt. Damian Williams, I don't know if he's going to play because of COVID, but David Montgomery's out, so that kind of falls into his lap. And he also has Alex Collins from Chris Carson. So I'm like, this dude just has like 4 backup running backs to sort of supply him fantasy points during this Bimageddon for him. And I'm like, dude, like I could have had this matchup won so easily if he didn't get some of these guys to work out because he has like Claypool out, Marvin Jones out, bunch of other stuff out. McCaffrey's hurt, so like this is the week to win. And so he's going to do everything in his power to not let it happen, even on the week where he's supposed to win. So he's frustrating.
I'm frustrated with myself with him because he offered me Devontae Booker, I think it was week 1 or 2, for Rojo and a second. And I was like, nah, I don't even know who this guy is. And he goes off for like Saquon goes down. I'm like, damn it.
Yeah, he's had some good weeks, and Rojo's just I don't know what the heck's going on, man. He just
Waste.
kicked.
An absolute waste.
Apparently today, a reporter asked Arians like if they wanted to, or if they were thinking about trading Rojo, and he just like laughed at that question as if it was like ridiculous. And I'm like, it's not
You
a
don't
stupid
use them.
question. You don't use them. Like I would consider it. Fournette's proven to be your bell cow, and you use Gio on passing work, so Rojo has 0 role on that team.
Yeah, Fournette was a great pick. Jeremy has him. That was a great pick. Super value there. Honestly.
Yeah, no, I took Melvin Gordon over him. So
You couldn't know though. You couldn't.
yeah, you
Yeah,
couldn't.
because I mean, last year Rojo was the clear starter, and then the playoffs came, and then it kind of transitioned into Lenny.
Yeah,
But he was just the higher hand, I thought, that they were feeding.
It was hard to know what to do with the Bucks backfield on draft night. I kind of just try to stay away from them altogether because I had no idea what their volume was going to look like. So far, it looks like Lenny's the only one worth really doing anything with. So
Unbelievable.
yeah, there's a lot of tough breaks in fantasy. Sometimes you can do all the homework, all the research, and you still just have no results. Like, I mean, Lucas knows what he's freaking doing, and he drafted Ayuk, and what the heck has Ayuk done this season? So, like, sometimes you can think you're making the smartest decisions in the world, and then just falls on your face. Like that's how it goes, So it is definitely a game that's largely luck, but you just do what you can to put yourself in the best position possible. Hope for the best. So, what do you think has been like the not biggest as far as like star power necessarily, but like just biggest as far as like impact on the league trade this year? Do you think it was the D-Hop one, or do you think there's been another trade that's been kind of like more like I guess impactful for one specific team?
Go ahead, Ty.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think yours with Mitri giving him Dak. That one was pretty impactful. I mean, that took him from an 0-3 team to a 3-3 team. Now I think he was 0-3. I don't know what he was.
Yeah, he was 0-3 and he's won 3
Yeah.
straight.
He's won 3 straight since he did that. So I mean, that's pretty impactful. I think that kind of changed the whole course of his season. Aside from that, I would say probably the D-Hop one because that's that rich get richer with James. I mean, just add another great piece. But also, I think another one James did was getting James Robinson for Gaskin. James Robinson, incredible. I mean, he looks absolutely incredible. Talk about a great investment. He bought him at the perfect time. And at the time, it looked like, oh, it's just parts for parts, but no, it's pretty clearly like
when it happened. I thought Carter was winning it when it happened because like James Robinson had kind of a few underwhelming weeks. Gaskin was looking solid. I felt like Gaskin didn't have a Travis Etienne on his team to like kind of scare them away from him, in the future. But I was completely wrong because now I feel like Gaskin almost has more competition than Robinson will. Like Etienne will be there, but I mean, with Gaskin, like the Dolphins don't know who the heck they want their running back to be. Like one game it's Gaskin, the next game it's Ahmed, the next game it's Malcolm Brown. Like they don't know what the heck they're doing with their backfield. So Carter's kicking himself over that one. Now I feel like you'd probably trade Gaskin for a high five and maybe third round pick. Like,
yeah, what was the name he gave him today? I'm trying to scroll back up and find it.
Oh, like it was locker room something.
Yeah. I'll find it. Y'all can.
But yeah, I think the two most impactful ones are obviously D-Hop. I mean, that was just I bit the bullet hard on that one. And then obviously getting Mitri, Prescott, like I mean he was right. His team was a solid QB away from being great, and they are. So
yeah, that's the one trade I've done where I mean it's still really early, but like that's the one trade where I look back at it and I'm like, maybe I should have kept Dak. Like it was a good return, like definitely a good haul. I mean, I ended up with Fields, Waddle, who's obviously looking amazing, and then two other assets that I kind of turned into Mooney. So, not a bad return, but it's just like, man, Dak has been so good since I traded him. And
but like also who out of those guys do you start? Like you only start Waddle, right?
As of right now, I intend on starting Mooney and Fields, obviously. I mean, I wouldn't have traded for him if I didn't intend on them being the guys. Mm-hmm. But as of right now, I mean, yes, but I understood when I made the trade that my team was going to be years away from kind of at least a year, maybe a couple years away from contending for a championship. So
yeah, when you made that trade, I thought you were just like I said. When you made that trade, I thought you were just content with, like, well, we're rebuilding for next year because you already pretty much at that time had the first round pick locked up.
Yeah,
it was between you and Marcus, and he had won.
Well, then my team started doing a lot better, and I was like, this team's not crappy. Like Taylor and Mixon are both like balling. Like I can at least make my team like pretty respectable for even as of right now. And I'm not the type to just like completely give up on a season. Like I'm not a tanker, So like if I'm even though it's dynasty, and I know that sometimes that's a good strategy, like I'm always gonna try to win games. So I've still been making moves to try to get better without getting like super, super old, but like still making moves to get better for right now. So I kind of changed up my strategy a little bit. Because at that point I was kind of like, yeah, I suck. So might as well just get younger and stuff like that and trade a great player. But then I was kind of like, that's kind of what bugs me about it looking back is once I sort of changed my strategies is if I had held on to Dak and still done the trade for Diggs, my team could be looking really good right now, like really solid. Because then I have Dak, Taylor, Mixon, Diggs,
Yeah, the
wouldn't have
standings
Waddle,
are.
but Devonta Smith. Oh no, I wouldn't have Devonta Smith either. But that's still I'd be looking pretty solid with Diggs, Dak. Hopefully a healthy Kittle, Mixon, Taylor. So part of me's kind of wishing I just held on to him. So as of right now, congrats, Mitri. I think you won the trade as of right now, but jury's still out. Hopefully Fields develops.
Yeah, that's the thing with trades and dynasty is the jury's always out because especially when you're trading picks, like first you got to see who you're going to pick, and then you got to wait a couple years to see what they turn into. So like it's just like in real life, you never really know until you know. So I mean, it's too early to say because who knows who could get drafted with that first that you give away or whatnot to determine if you win or lose. I mean,
yeah, and we've traded draft picks so early in the season when like there's still a lot of season left. We don't know what the standings are going to look like. So like, I think the way I view it, like let's for example, if my team ends up, oh no, my bad. If Mitri's team ends up kind of making a run and ends up finishing like top 3 in the league, then that pick I gave you, Ty, for Mooney is like pick 12 or something like that, or 13. And like I can sleep a lot better at night knowing I gave you like a just kind of an average pick, for a guy that you probably won't be starting. But like if Mitri kind of hits a rut, gets some bad injuries and finishes outside of the playoffs, you could have like a top 6 pick, and then I'll probably be kicking myself. So like a lot of it is just sort of gambling on the team finishes, and it's so early and there's so many things that can happen to shake up how those picks turn out. So that's kind of the risk with it is like, and also with trading for Diggs, like I was kind of betting on myself there because I was hoping that by getting Diggs, my team will get better, especially getting into a slightly easier stretch for me, hoping that doesn't end up being the number 1 pick, but it ends up being like the number 5 or 6 pick or something like that. And I can kind of make a little bit of a push here. I'll feel a lot better about it if it's a mid-round pick than if I end up giving Lucas like a top 3 pick. So jury's still out with Dynasty 24/7. So we'll see how it finishes.
always is, man. But it's been an eventful week, so I'm glad we could kind of just come and rehash some of these things. I think people will enjoy hearing this insight, and it's an important week coming up. We have a lot of people that are 4-2, 3-3. So this will be a moving week. It's important to might differentiate just a little bit in the standings. We won't see as many ties, I don't think so. See how it shakes out.
Yep.
But all right, we're about out of time here, Matt. So we need to wind this thing down.
Yeah. So who y'all play this week?
I think I play Carter.
I got Mitri.
All right. Well, best of luck to you guys. I hope you guys get wins. Hopefully, I can take down James and pull the upset.
That'd be one for the books, man. That'd be fun.
I think the league might want him to get taken down a little peg by getting beat by the worst team in the league. So hopefully I can do it. I think buys are in my favor slightly. So we'll see.
I want Jake to get beat. Get him off his high horse. I think DK in a first is worth how much.
We'll see, boys. But we're gonna have to end it here, man. We're about to run out of time.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
All right. Thanks again, Chris. Peace.
Have a good one, guys.
Adios, guys.